tables are a great way of presenting your data in rows and columns within your document. And there's actually two different kinds of tables that you can insert. One would be an actual table. The other would be an Excel spreadsheet, worksheet. I'm going to show you how to do both in this video example. So we're going to start with an actual table, and what we're going to do is we're going to kind of put it in between a couple paragraphs, and we'll just do this area here. So what you first of all do is you kind of click into maybe the end of a particular paragraph, hit enter, and that gives you some room to put the table in. Now when we get the table in there, it's going to take up the width of the typing area, so it's going to observe the margins. Okay, so what we'll do next is we're going to go over here to the Insert tab, and then there you're going to see Table. Now when we click onto that, there's a couple ways of doing this, or a few ways. We can either kind of hover over this grid here, and as we hover over it, the orange area determines or indicates how many columns and how many rows you're going to get. That's one way. The other way would be to go in there and hit Insert Table, where then it gives you the option of specifying how many columns you want and how many rows you want and so forth. All right. And then the third way is that you can actually draw the table. Okay. So we're going to use all three of those to make that happen. There's also kind of like a mini template area that you can go to, where you can go down here to where it says Quick Tables, and it gives you a number of different already made tables that you can then go in there and kind of fill in with your own information, add additional rows and columns too. All right, not a lot of them, but there's enough to kind of play around with there. So you get a lot of options, and there's no excuse for you not being able to get a table in there. So we're going to start out first of all with the template. So I'm going to show you the easiest way of doing this, because it will have it kind of set up. It'll be kind of formatted for you, and then all you really have to do is go in there and maybe add additional rows or columns, change the data, of course, that's already in there, and kind of go from there. So I think that'll be a good start here. So what we'll do is we'll go back here to Table. We'll go down here to the Quick Tables, and then we'll just kind of scroll down, and we're going to go with this rather colorful one here, the what's called With Subheads 2 versus With Subheads 1. So we'll go with this one here, click onto it, and voila. All right, so what we're looking at here is, I guess, some fictitious colleges and how many students are new, how many are graduating, the change and so forth. Our data has nothing to do with colleges. Let's just say it has to do with companies, all right? So we want to show in this first column a number of different companies. We don't have to have as many here. We'll just have a few here to save some time. But we'll have our companies there. And then I want to show Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 as far as the revenues they have generated. And maybe even have a fifth or another column as well to add up those 4 quarters. So we'll have to have two new columns in here as well. All right, so that's what we're going to do with this one. So we'll start out kind of easy here, and then we'll kind of work our way into a little bit more depth as we work with different ways of putting tables in. Now this particular table has been formatted in such a way where it's not really showing the grid lines, all right? So they're not filled in. But the table itself has columns and rows which make up different cells in each of these areas here, right? So what I want to do is get in there and at least display where those column and rows are, the grid in a way, right? So what we can actually do, this is up here, we have the table tools here, and we have design and we have layout. We're going to be working with these extensively throughout this video. But we're going to go over here to layout, and there's a button over here called view grid lines. And when you click onto it, it shows you then where the actual cells are, right? So first thing we're going to do, and I just want to have that so it gives me a sense of what I'm doing here. So then I'm going to go over to here to where it says college. I'm going to double click that, and I'm going to type in company. All right. And then over here, I'm going to double click, or actually maybe triple click that. That'll select the whole thing. And what I want to do here is call that one, let's say QTR1, so quarter one. All right. And then I want to go over here, triple click it, call that one QTR2. And then the next one here, we're going to make that one QTR3. All right. Now I'm going to need to insert two new columns to the right of this one. And the way I do that, very simple. You go over here to layout, and over here we've got the rows and columns. All right. So we want to insert a new column to the right of this one. So we just click on the insert right. There it goes, and we'll do one more. There we go. What I really like about this so far is back in the old days, when you would do something like that, the table would actually go off the page. It would actually, you know, expand out and not stay constrained within the margins. So they've really made some great improvements to tables over the years. But you know, feel lucky that you're at that point in time where it's not going to take a lot of effort to really come up with a great looking table. So then over here, I'm going to click onto that. I'm going to type in QTR4. All right. Now, I can use my tab key to tab over to the next cell. Pretty much the same thing that you'd have like in Excel, where as you tab, it goes across the way. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now in here, we're going to type in the word total, and that's it for that. Now I really don't need this first row here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click anywhere on the row, go back into my layout tab, go over here to delete, and tell it that I want to delete the rows. In this case, just the row, but delete rows, and there we go. All right, now I don't really need to have this row either, so I'm just going to go to this row here, go to delete, and then delete rows. That gets rid of that one. As a matter of fact, I'm only going to need everything up to about here, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this range right here, all right? And then all I have to do is go back to delete and tell it that I want to delete the rows, and there we go. All right, I'm going to save some video time and boredom of watching me have to type this in, but I'm going to type in the 6 companies that we need to have in here. So with the magic of video, all right, look at that, magic, they're all in there. Okay, so we've got the 6 companies, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the 4 quarters of numbers. So again, with the magic of video, and presto changeo, there we go. We got our numbers in there. Now, we can also put formulas in, and we can actually put a formula underneath each of these columns that will add up those numbers. I mean, we could add them up in our head maybe, and then go ahead and plug that number in, but it's just as easy just to create a formula. So what we're going to do here is, while we're on that first cell there, we're going to go back up into layout, and then go over here to formula, and tell it that we want to add up or sum everything above. So it's a little bit different. If you're kind of used to Excel, Excel wouldn't use something like this. It'd say sum, and it would have the range. But because this is not like a worksheet, it doesn't work the way Excel does. So we have to do it like this. Now, we've got that in there. I want to go now to the format and tell it how I want the number to look, you know, the total. So I can actually go to this one right here, all right? But I really don't want any like 0.00 after. These are all whole numbers. There's no cents in there, so I really don't need, it doesn't make sense to show cents if there are no cents to show. How about that one, huh? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to delete out the 0.000 or the 0.00, and then do the same thing on this one right here. Click about right there and delete that as well. Now, I'm going to have to do this over and over again. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select this. I'm going to hit Control C to copy it, and I'll have that in memory for it to use for the next column. So once I've done this, I'll just go ahead and hit OK, and then you'll see the 885 down at the bottom. Now I'll go to this one here. Now, again, too, unlike Excel where I could take that and copy it across, I can't really do that. So all I do is I just go back into Formula, all right? And I go to here, and I'll do a right-click and paste that format in, all right? Hit OK, and now it adds up that one. I go over to here, Formula, go to here, right-click, paste. There it is again. Hit OK. And then one more, Formula, paste that in, and hit OK. Now we have the same thing for our rows. We'll go to the first one here, Formula, right-click, paste, hit OK, adds that up. Again, we'll go there. Oh, sorry. Go back into Formula here. So Formula, I go to here, paste it. Hit OK, there we go. Again, Formula. And just keep on doing this over and over again. Oh, let me do that. All right. And of course, I'm looking at this, I'm saying, wait a minute, these numbers don't look right. It looks like it changed on me. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of each of these guys in there. I was trying to pull a fast one on me. So I'll get rid of those again here. Sorry about that. So we'll go back to here again. I'll put a formula in. I don't want to sum above. I don't know, maybe some of you might have caught that and said, hey, look at that idiot. But anyway, I'm going to change that from above to left, all right? And then I'll go to my format, paste that in, hit OK. Yeah, that's more like it. Go this one here. Oop. Go to my formula, change that to left. Go to here, paste that in. Keep in mind, I mean, you guys are probably sitting there saying, you know, it seems like a lot of trouble to do this, but you know, at the same time, you're going to be accurate. You're not going to make any mistakes by having it do the calculation for you. Okay, so we'll go, get back into layout there. All right, so there's our formula. Again, left, go to here, right click, paste it, hit OK, there we go, go there, formula, make that left, go down to here, right click it, paste it in there, and we're almost there. Make that left, and paste that in. All right, so now we got the grand total. Now on this one, we can do either one, all right, because we can either add up the column or the row. It's going to be the same. So we'll go back into column, and it says it wants to add up above. We'll just go with above. And we'll go ahead and put our formatting in there, then hit OK, and there we go. All right, now I want to do next, I want to go ahead and kind of change the font a little bit, make it a little bit bigger and so forth. So I'm going to kind of select the whole thing here. All right, and then we're going to go back into Home, believe it or not, and we can go here to our big A, little a deal here. So we'll go on the big A. Make it a little bit larger, something like that. That might look pretty good. Good size there. And now I want to kind of change the alignment of how the data is in the cells there. I really hate the look of things being, you know, on the edges of these grids here for the most part, and kind of get it to look a little bit nicer here. So first of all, I want to take these guys here, and I want to make them centered. All right, so it didn't do it there. So select that range, like that, and I can actually just hit center right here and take care of it there, or I can hit it up there. Either way. All right, and then if on the side here, I want to get these labels to be lined up on the left, which they are right now, and centered between the top and bottom within each of their cells. All right, now to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and select this whole range right there. Then I'm going to go up into the layout. All right, and you can see in the alignment that it's grayed in the top left-hand corner. So this stuff is up at the top left-hand corner. So at minimum, what I want to do is get it centered between the top and bottom and still lined up on the left. So I'm going to go with this one right here, click it, and they come down like that. That looks a heck of a lot better. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the numbers. Now the numbers, a little bit different. I'm going to take this range here, okay, and I'm going to get these guys to be centered, like both left and right and in the middle, right? So that would be going with this one right here. Click onto that, there we go. Okay, so we do that and look what happened. For some reason, it's still stuck at the top there. It should be right dead center, just like these guys are. Now, I might go in there and might click and say, well, maybe there's like a hard return, like maybe there's an enter after it, causing that extra space, but there isn't, all right? So the only thing I can come up with is that there's probably, you know how, and when we're talking about with paragraphs, how each paragraph has a like 8-point or 10-point of space, whatever, after each one to give you that spacing. Well, guess what happened over here? Same thing. So what we're going to do is select that range. Might as well do this over here too, because this is going to be the same way. Select that whole thing. And now if we go back into the Home tab, go back to our paragraph, you can kind of see how we've got the 10-point of space after each one of these, and there's also about 15 hundredths of a line spacing after it as well that you'd get between the lines here. See, that's what that is. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this down to 0. We're going to make this just plain old single spacing, hit OK, and there we go. Now, did that make a difference or what? Look at that, all right? This is bugging me too. I was meaning to get rid of that, so I'm going to delete that there. All right, and go over here and delete that little paragraph of text as well. Oh, and we'll, I think too, I'm going to tell it we want some space before it. So put about maybe 12 there. That pull down there. There we go. Okay, so see, those are the tools that we had learned earlier, and we can use them here as well. Okay, so that's getting there. And I think too, we're going to go ahead and center these guys here. So I'm going to take that whole range there, and while I'm here in the Home, I can go ahead and center it here, right? Or I can go to my layout, right, and do what? Center it like this. So I can do like that there. Does the same thing. Now I'm also going to go ahead and I want to make this column wider. Okay. Now to do that, easiest way is to get right on and make sure that you don't have a cell selected like that, because if you do that and then you're trying to make the column wider, what will happen is it will make that cell wider. Okay, so we don't want that to happen. So when you do make columns wider or narrow or whatever you're going to do, make sure that nothing is like highlighted. It could be, you know, the cursor just needs to be blinking somewhere, anywhere, no matter where it's at. And then we go right here, hold down the mouse, drag it out a little bit, and that pushes that over, right? And let's say also on the total here, this one here, we want to bring that one in just about like that, okay? Now, what's happened, and only like a trained eye, well, maybe not, I think pretty obviously here, we want to get all 4 of these columns exactly the same width, using each of them being the same width, but still taking up only the area from here to here, right? So what we can do is we can select that whole range just like that, all right? Oop. Okay, And then what we have, this distribute, this is also in the layout area here, the distribute column. So what it'll do is it'll distribute the width of the columns to be even in all 4 of them in this case, amongst the total width that you see here, see? So watch this, I click onto that, and voila. Now if we also would like to maybe get a little bit more, spacing between each of these rows, it's pretty tight. I mean, it looks great, but if you just want a little bit more spacing, what you could do is increase the overall height of the table. And while you're in the table, you're going to get these little markers. So you got this one here, which allows us to move the table around. We'll do that a little bit later on. But we have this one here, which will change the size of it. So if I just kind of point to there, get that little diagonal, hold down the mouse and just kind of pull it down like this, see, I get a little bit more height. And what it's doing is it's actually making a little bit more, but even spacing between each of the rows when we do that. So I can do it like that, and bring it down maybe just a little bit more, and then I let go, and there we go. Now if we want a little bit more height for the headings here, what we can do is we can go ahead and get up here, get that double tipped arrow, hold on the mouse and kind of pull it down a little bit like that. And then while we're on this cell only, I can go ahead and tell it to make it go down and center, center between the top and bottom, but not center this way. And then on these, I can tell it that I want this to be centered top and bottom and left and right. So I'll do this one right here, and there we go. And then when you look at that, you might say, okay, now maybe what I'll do is I'll just pull this up just a little bit like that, and there we go. So what do we have so far? Well, what I'm going to do is in the Layout tab, I'm going to click onto that View Grid Lines and toggle that off, and that's what it's going to look like. Now, do you like that look, or would you like to have a look where you have some grids in there? Make it kind of look more like a spreadsheet in a way, all right? Either one. Well, let's do this one first. Let's go over to the Design, all right? And over here, we've got the table styles. Now, it looks like you just have one here, but actually, there's a lot. So if I hit the More button here, you can kind of see how many we've got here. And what's really nice about this is that there's a lot of them for sure, but as you hover over them, you'll see it kind of change there, back here in the background here. See, so as I'm doing that. And if I go to these guys here, you'll see how those change up as well. So it's really not going to be changing the font per se. It's more of coloring and putting grids in there, grids that will stay, that will look the way you see it right now, like the blue grid right now. But I can hover over, do each of these, and I can find one that looks, looks pretty good. So maybe I'll go over here to the green. That looks kind of nice. Click onto that, and there we go. Now, by having done that, you might not have noticed it, but we lost all of our orientation that we did, all the alignment that we did over here. So it's a small price to pay, but what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and we'll kind of highlight this. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll do this one first, all right? And we'll tell it that we want that to be there, right? We'll take this here and tell that we want it to be bullseyed like that, right? We're going to take all of these and tell it that we want it to be lined up in the center, just like that. And then we'll take all of these and, always does that. All those, and then we're going to tell that we want that to be centered top and bottom, left and right. So there it goes. So not much time at all. Now once you've got a table in place and you've got all your formatting done, it looks just the way you want it to look, part of the problem with this is that you might want to relocate it. You might want to put it somewhere else. So how would you be able to do that? Well, if you click anywhere on the table, you'll see this little crosshair, all right, in the corner there. So the crosshair on top of the crosshair now, right? You hold down your mouse button on that and you drag it, okay? You can maybe bring it over here, let go, and it puts it in between there or somewhere close to that. kind of cut it off on me on that one. I'm going to hit undo real quick on that one. Let me zoom out so we can see more of our document here. All right. So what I want to do is take that, drag it over to here, let go, and there we go, see? And then you can, do your spacing and all that if you need to do that. So that would be if you wanted to move it. I'm just going to hit undo and bring it back. Now I'm going to zoom in, back in here. And my other thought now, the wrong way there. The other thought I was having that maybe what we could do is make the table a little bit smaller and have it where the text will wrap around it. It's almost like you imagine a picture being in there and the text wrapping around it. So instead of it, taking over like the whole width of the page, we make it smaller. Now, what we'll do before we do that is we'll select all of our data there, all right? We'll go back to home and we're gonna make it just a little bit smaller, okay? Something like that, all right? Now, once we've done that, that will then allow us to make it, smaller and still be able to see it, for the most part. Because if we kept it the same size and made it too small, things are going to start wrapping on us, and we don't want that. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go back to here, this guy, hold down the mouse, and before we had done this to drag it to make it taller, get more height in the rows. What we're going to do now is we're going to kind of do something like this and try to get it as compact as we can without it getting too messed up here. So I mean, we can do almost something like that even, right? Maybe make it just a little bit taller, something like that. All right. So there we go. Now, what I want to do is I want to get the text to wrap around it. So we have to go into the table properties to tell it that we want to allow text to wrap around the table, because right now we just have it at the top and bottom. So we just click somewhere in the table, all right? We go back over into our layout, all right? Go over here to properties, all right? This little window will pop up, all right? And we look at the text wrapping area here, and it looks like, yeah, that looks like a good place right there. So we click on to around, all right? We hit OK, and now you can see the text wrap around it. So now we can take our crosshair and move it to whatever destination we want, like something like that. Oop, let's hit undo on that one. Let's just move it this way. Let's take it up here. And there it goes. Get it just right there. There we go. Now, if you're really picky and you want to make sure that, you don't have all this extra space down there, we could actually go to here, hold on our mouse and just kind of drag it straight down and kind of play with it a little bit until we get it to the way we think would look okay. All right. So maybe bring it up a little bit. Oop, too far. And maybe something just like that would be good. All right, there we go. And if you're a perfectionist, you'll be sitting there for hours with it, trying to get it just right. Okay, so I want to kind of wrap this video up with one more table that we're going to be doing, but it's going to be very quick. And what I want to do is show you how you can take existing data that you already have in your document that maybe you had put together using tabs or whatever, and convert that into a table. So what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of scroll down here a little bit, and I've got another part here, and basically what you're looking at here is all the same data that we had over here. Okay, what I did was I basically took this and I converted it into looking like that. And the way I did that, just so you know, in case you ever want to do this, is you can click onto the table like this, go back into the layout, all right? And then what you can do is you can say, I want to convert it to text. If I do that, then what happens is I get this down here. So all I really did was I just copied this down into here, and then it was a table still, and then I converted it to just look like this. So this would be something that you would do if you didn't really know much about tables. And it kind of goes back to what we had learned in the last video with tabs. And here's where for this row here, we set a number of tabs, and then we typed in the text here, and then tabbed over, typed that in, and so on and so forth. So it'd be something like that. And then starting with this row, what we did was we put different tabs in, and had alignment that way. All right, so that's how we put it together. That probably wouldn't have been what we'd want to do. We probably would have just left the same tabs that we had for here to be the same ones for this one over here as well. But you get the idea. So the bottom line is, this is definitely not a table, but it's tabbed, and therefore the data is separated with the tabs, and therefore we can very easily convert this now back into something like this. All right, so here's how we do this. What you'll do first of all is you select the data here, so just like that, and then we go back into insert, we go back to table, and which one do you think we might go with? Probably one that says convert the text into a table, right, or to a table. So we click onto that. It says okay. It senses, well, first of all, it selects tabs because it can just tell by what's been selected that it's been separated by tabs, all right? Not commas or anything else. And therefore, it figures that there's 6 columns to be created and 8 rows, and that's what it's going to do. So there's really not much for you to do here other than just hit OK. When you do that, it converts into that. And then from that point, best way to fix it up would be, let me just zoom in here a little bit. Okay, so the best thing we could do is maybe go back in there if we wanted to, not spend a lot of time here, and go to the design tab here, hit our little drop down, and find a look that we might like to maybe start with, So maybe go with we'll go with the orange look. I think we'll go with that one. So we'll click onto that, and you can then see that type of look there. And then, there might be some things you might want to change up here a little bit. Like, for instance, we probably don't need to have this all bolded. We can kind of select that, go back to home, and hit the bold a couple times there, or once, to kind of turn that off. I guess it is just a little dark there. All right, so other than that, maybe even go here, maybe make it just a little bit taller, all right? And most likely, probably take this row, this column here, go back into our layout, and tell it we want that to be centered. Take this over here, and tell it that we want this to be like bullseyed, basically, just like that. Take these guys over here, and we'll center that kind of bullseyed as well. There we go. Now there's one little thing here. While we're on the table, we can actually go into the design and tell it that we want to have a total row. Now you see what it looks like right now. Click on the total row, and it kind of breaks that off a little bit, kind of formats a little bit differently. You get the double border there and everything. That looks pretty good. You could also, if you wanted to, say last column. I don't think that's going to really do anything on that one, so we're not going to do that one. We got the banded columns. We can do that there, and that'll kind of color it in there, but that looks pretty good. Again, little things you can do. You can maybe go right to here, right on the border, kind of pull that down just a little bit, and give a little bit more space there, kind of separate it out a little bit. But other than that, I think it looks pretty good. So what I've shown you so far are the 2 easiest ways of creating tables. Either you start with a template that we did in the beginning there, and then the other way is to take what you already have as far as data, select it, and convert it into a table like we did this one here. So that should do for this particular video. The next video, we're going to get a little bit deeper into actually creating the tables from scratch and all that. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I know it's a little bit long, but a lot of tedious things about it that you need to know how to do. So appreciate you watching. Take care.